This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
And we are back another one borough away here on KC Sports Network. Jordan Foote, Joel Penfield, Josh Keiser, brought to you by Emprise Bank. Member FDIC, our partners in Possible. Joel, what's up, buddy?
Hanging in there, man. Another solid week of baseball. Coming off the holiday weekend, it was fun because my son, for the first time, I got to sit down with him and watch The Sandlot. And he's 3, so there a lot of the content kind of goes over his head, but he's starting to love baseball, so he loved that aspect of it. So really fun weekend. Josh, how are you doing, man?
Also a good weekend. We got to the pool. We really did Memorial Day right, and then I have water in my ear just permanently now. I think it's just I'm gonna be cotton ball gauze kid in the ear from now on, just because I cannot get this water out of my ear. So playing a little hurt tonight, but I'm excited to be here with you boys. Jordan, how are you, sir?
I don't have any complaints, man. I don't really think I have anything to whine about injury-wise. I did pull my quad in slow pitch softball last week, and it completely locked up on me, and I was like, oh my God, I'm getting old. But the older people on my team made fun of me and was like, oh, you were making fun of us for stretching before the game, and now you didn't stretch. And so now I'm like understanding the value of preparing your body to run down the baseline, which is not even that big of a deal. But
when you're
leaving
on the field, you should be prepared to lose something.
Yep. The Royals have been losing a couple, still playing as we're recording this. We'll probably give an update at the very end as to the outcome, but did play Detroit a few times and won, played Tampa, very fun series against them. The Twins series, not so much, because they always seem to have the Royals number, or vice versa. Like, those games are just one team beating the crap out of the other, which is kind of
phenomenally when Joe Ryan pitches. Because apparently when Joe Ryan goes against, he becomes right. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And like, he's really good. I don't want to discount the guy. I'm not going to act like he's some like slapdick journeyman that just like figures it out. He's really, really good. But then he just turns into like an elite level pitcher for just no reason against Kansas City.
Yeah, it might be 7-0. Like, it's up there,
7 or 8.
I'll look up the career numbers.
Okay. I'm going to I just have a couple things that jumped out for me. Preliminarily from those games. Bobby Witt Jr. against the Tigers, that 10-3 win, couple home runs and 6 ribbies. He was absolutely great. The following day, Cole Riggins was shoving, which is something he isn't really doing as we're recording this podcast, but nonetheless, he was great. And then on the 27th, which would have been Monday, almost came back on Minnesota. And I think that really that's kind of a testament to the resiliency of this team that we've continually talked about every single week, and willing to never give up on a game, keep coming back in one, keep trying to make something happen, and then ultimately fell up short. You know, when you're a team that's 31-24 entering Tuesday, not a lot of moral victories, but I think another justification of this is a team that is better than people thought they were going to be coming into the year, establishing a very clear floor of fighting and competing, which is all people really wanted coming into the season. So, Josh, any thoughts on that whole week of baseball?
I completely agree with you. It's we're exceeding all expectations. I think even the most, like I said last week, the optimistic guy of us, even undersold how good they are actually. So, very cool to see that continue. Yes, Joe Ryan's still very, very good, and they still almost. I mean, this team continues to respond to obstacles and skill levels and stuff, and losing games. So it's nice to see that. I need to get one thing straight with this fan base real quick. Losing 2 games in a row is not a streak. Can we agree on this?
Neither is winning 2 in a row.
Correct. You have to win or lose 3 before it's a streak.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of red flags, a lot of alarm sounding going off on this streak that they lost 2 in a row. So I need to nip that in the bud real quick. The other couple things here, Carlos Hernandez is back, and he is pumping cheddar. He is hitting 101, and his breaking balls and his off-speed stuff are moving more than they ever did last year. So it is a small sample size. I brought that up on Twitter today. it is nice to see him back because, like we have been talking about, he offers something different than that bullpen. So nice to see him come back, even if it is just 4 hitters. But seeing him up in 101 is awfully fun. Another fun thing about it is over this last week, really one of these games, let me see, the one on 25th, went into extras against the Rays. Nelson Velasquez, Adam Frazier, Garrett Hampson, and Hunter Renfroe combined for 7 for 15 with a home run, 3 doubles, 3 walks, and 2 strikeouts. And that got me thinking about how this bottom of the lineup, we've been calling them holes for, since the beginning of the season. Since May 1st, let's start there. The 7 through 9 spots have the 10th highest OPS in the majors at a paltry 686. Not great. Still 10th best in the majors, I should say. Over the last 2 weeks, it's 718. Gotten better, still 10th. Over the last week, 739 OPS from that 7 through 9 spot. Those are not holes. Those are valuable assets at this point, which is, nice to see. It's good to see this offense come to form in general, but over the last week, 739 OPS, also 10th. So it's kind of interesting that the OPS jumped by, 50 points, and it's still just 10th. So, but it is good to see some life out of there.
Yeah. The game on Saturday is what stuck out to me the most from this week, because how often have we seen the Royals play that type of game where, I'll just call it what it is, they looked horrible on Saturday.
Yeah,
like
real flat.
The two blands were rampant. The physical errors in the field. The pitching was pretty spotty at times. Guys weren't producing when we needed them to. And they still found a way to win a game. Like that to me says a lot about where this team is at and the maturity that they carried. Like, they don't get too high, they don't get too low, and we're going to keep plowing ahead and we're going to keep trying to keep ourselves in this game. And they did. And ultimately they broke it open in the 11th and you win a ball game. But that was a game last few years. They probably lose that game like 8-2. I don't even think they're able to even claw it into extra innings. So the fact they're able to do that tells me like good teams win those games. When you come out and you play a C- game and still win, it shows like your margin for error is a lot greater than where we thought it might be. So that speaks to me about where this team is at and where they're headed. I know they're scuffling a little bit right now, but that's the ebb and flow of the season. It does not mean the Royals, because they lost if they lose tonight, we're falling back. See, everything is on fire.
They're frauds.
Season's over. They're all frauds. Yeah, fuck off with that. Like, this is just the way. Yeah, I'm serious, man. This team.
Okay, Bob.
500. They are 13 over by accident, guys. Like, the run differential says what it is. Like, they find ways to win these games. Yeah. You know who also loses 3 games in a row? The Dodgers, the Yankees, everybody. So they're going to figure it out. Like, I do firmly believe that this is a team that's going to find a way to keep themselves in it through the summer. A 3-game stretch at the end of May is not going to do them in.
No. They have a couple of quick transactions here before we get back to some overarching weekly takeaways. Tyler Duffy DFA'd to make room for Carlos Hernandez. Not a lot there. 10 strikeouts, but 8 walks in the 9 innings he pitched. Michael Massey is back on the IL with what's being described as a low back ligament strain. That just hasn't really been working out for him very well. The back, like Joel said, those things don't really have a habit of getting better or staying away over prolonged periods of time. It's not like Massey's an older player, but nonetheless something that is worth watching. It was originally like back soreness or whatever during the game, then a little bit more defined. Nick Lofton up for him. We'll talk about Nick Lofton later on in the show. Matt Sauer was cleared waivers, returned to the Yankees. It just didn't pan out for him. Started off okay, pretty well, but ended up with a 7.71 ERA in 16 innings with the team. And Jonah DePoto got traded to the Phillies for cash considerations. He turns 28 in September. 4.4 ERA, but a 6.58 FIP in Omaha. 10 games, 2 starts, 13 strikeouts to 8 walks. Josh, any initial thoughts on getting transactional, some in a good way, some in a bad way?
Yeah, I think losing Massey is a big deal. He was slashing 333, 347, 623 in the month of May. I'm a big Nick Lofton guy. We're best friends. As you could tell from our interview with him, we are best friends. So I do like Nick Lofton, but Michael Massey was doing a good job extending this lineup, especially through that May, and having that 5th batter that really has to keep a pitcher honest there in the middle of the lineup will be definitely missed. I also like, we've kind of talked about it before, Carlos Hernandez. I think he's got a similar floor to Tyler Duffy. They both have command issues with some wipeout stuff, but I think he does add quite a bit of ceiling. We've seen really, really good Carlos Hernandez, so being able to replace Tyler Duffy's big question mark as far as like his upside with Carlos Hernandez's upside is a big deal. So I think those were the two big ones to me. Joel, what do you think?
Yeah, losing Michael Massey is terrible because the offense was he was rolling with the offense, and he was a big catalyst for the offense. I mean, he was hitting near 300. The OPS was well over 700. The power was starting to really come back for him with more regularity. And now it's a back injury, and you just don't know how he's going to hold up and what the timeline looks like. I don't think this is a simple 10-day stint. This could be a month. It could be July before we see Michael Massey again. And Nick Lofton's going to hold his weight. This is not an indictment on Nick Lofton at all. Just Michael Massey's ceiling as a hitter, I think, is a lot higher because of the power. I think Nick Lofton's got some, but it's not the same sort of game power that Michael Massey possesses. So you're probably going to get some more professional, quote unquote, at bats from Nick Lofton. He's going to put the ball in play probably with more regularity, but you're not going to see the power and the kind of the thump that Massey was providing in the middle of the order. So it's just different, and they're going to have to find ways to add some of that power. They really need Nelson Velasquez to keep going and be that middle of the order bat. Maybe Hunter Renfroe, who's been hitting the ball better as of late, maybe he can move up a spot and provide some of that power, especially with runners in scoring positions. He's been like sneaky good with runners in scoring position. Yeah, hasn't been talked about enough. But they're going to have to figure it out, and they're going to have to find a way to keep it together. It's not like it is a detrimental loss to the team, but it hurts because of the way the offense was rolling, and he was a big part of it.
Joel, did you have another injury-related note for your weekly takeaway for a player in the middle of the lineup?
So this happened right before we were recording. Vinny Pasquantino left the game because he collided, and by collided, I mean Byron Buxton ran into him because he wasn't in the baseline and banged it looks like they banged knees. Joel Goldberg reported that Vinny is out. It looks like it was a left lower leg contusion, so it wasn't a knee. So that's probably a shin. That's probably like like a knee to a shin or something like that. He is day to day, just like the rest of us, and we'll see what that means long term for Vinny. If that is an IL stint or if that is a true day to day, and they're able to avoid it. If they have to go there, then what's the move? Did they just bring up Nick Prado because he's a left-handed first baseman and they need that? Is it CJ Alexander?
I like that. I think I like Logan Porter more, to be honest. I think.
If Logan Porter, because I don't think he's on the 40.
No,
because I think
he's not. But they are currently at 39.
Yes,
that's right. Okay, I was wondering where that was going to come in.
Or they could DFA Austin Nola, who is being out hit by Logan Porter in Omaha. So if they think they could pass, I mean, Nola has kind of stepped it up a little bit more at the plate recently. But Logan Porter's been doing a lot of good things. His metrics look really good. He's not chasing. He's hitting the ball really hard. One of the better hitters in Omaha so far. Even he's not getting a lot of playing time. So I'm curious about what that is about. But I think Logan Porter's got a definite case. And he was the guy on the taxi squad there a few weeks ago when they were potentially going to need somebody. So I think he is high on that depth chart. And if Vinny does miss time, it could definitely be Logan Porter. It could be Prado. Could be Waters. It could be a lot of guys there. So I'm curious.
Because then you can play Salvi at first base.
Nick Lofton could play first base.
Garrett Hampson, sneaky, has been working on first base. I've noticed that a couple of times when I was out at the ballpark. Positional versatility there. We're going to talk about it later. But it's strange, but it's another dude that can do it. That would actually be like sneaky beneficial, I think, to Salvador Perez, because then he doesn't have to catch and you can put Freddy Fermin out there. And Freddy Fermin's hitting his weight. So
we're going to talk about him later too, Fred.
Yep. So
we're it's just teasing everybody.
I am hoping that this is just he misses 2 to 3 days. Nick is saying in the chat that x-rays were negative, so that's good. This could just be a pain tolerance thing, misses 2 to 3 days and is back in the lineup at best case. Worst case, maybe he hits the IL, gives himself the 10 days to rest. You bring up Prado and it's kind of a sink or swim moment. So we'll see. Hopefully Vinny's all right. and we'll see if the game polices itself with Byron Buxton not using the running lane.
Yeah,
I'm not advocating for it, but I'm saying it happens.
Shout out to Target Field for having an X-ray machine in stadium. If that's the case, that's fast. That was real fast.
Yeah. The only other injury updates for the Royals, Kyle Isbell was obviously back in the lineup Tuesday after suffering a scary face laceration. Didn't look great, on camera when he was talking, but he's a trooper. He's back. And then Chris Bubich is still on his way to returning. His rehab assignment moved to Omaha. First 4 rehab appearances were awesome. The last one wasn't great. I think that they took the bigger sum more than the smaller sum, said, okay, dude, let's get you moving here and keep you coming back to KC. My takeaway, the AL Central is kind of fun. Like, I like this race right now. Entering Tuesday, Cleveland, obviously the top dog. The Royals pretty close behind them, though. Minnesota 29-24, 5-5 in their last 10. Detroit almost exactly the club that most of us thought they were. About a 500 team, 0 run differential. They're just kind of hanging out. 5-5 in their last 10. And then the White Sox, we don't need to talk about them. I think, so Cleveland and the Royals play each other 7 times in the month of June. The Twins don't play any AL Central games in June from what I saw, which is honestly insane for this part of the season. And then Detroit plays the White Sox 3 times, so you would think that they'd win twice, but you never know. So I think that we keep talking about how the Royals have this like month of June where maybe they play 500 ball, maybe even it's a couple games below 500. That's going to separate the media who've been paying attention, the fans who've been paying attention that aren't going to sensationalize that and like, oh man, the Royals are really screwed now because they played, 500 ball in the month of June or a couple games above 500 in June instead of this, torrid pace they've got off to begin the year. But it's going to separate the team a little bit too, and they have a really good chance to do some damage and make up some ground and even distance themselves a little bit. So thoughts on the AL Central race, Joel? I will ask you first.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's completely opposite of what we thought this team was going to be. I didn't know coming into the year, what I had no idea or no feel for like any of these teams really, because normally when the Twins have high expectations, they flop. And then when there's no expectation, they're good. I had no idea what to do with Cleveland with a new manager. Detroit, I'm just going to continue to fade because I just don't get it and I don't know what they're doing. And we knew the White Sox were going to be a disaster. And for the most part, it's really a 3-team race right now. I think the Tigers are going to continue to backslide a little bit, but I think the Royals are going to find a way to keep themselves in it. We'll see.
It's cool to see all of the websites making the projected playoffs. The Royals making the playoffs more often than not. Like it's a weird reality or simulation, whatever you want to call that we currently live in. Something we've been craving for like 7 years. So it's very fun to, no matter how the rest of the season ends, it would be a heartbreaker to have the bottom fall out like we're all kind of anticipating will happen. But if that just never happens, it'd be awesome. I know we had a lot of tweeting and stuff going on, a lot of mentioning about, the Guardians are matching the Royals, their 9-game win streaks. And we just nobody could beat the Guardians. Just give us a taste of what the top of the AL Central could taste like. But on the flip side, I guarantee you the Guardians fans are just as annoyed by the fact that the Royals were going punch for punch and
100%
with the Guardians at that point. Knowing that if the Royals just went 5-5 in that 10-game, 8 out of 10 or whatever it was, if they just went 5-5, they would be a handful of games back behind Cleveland, and they're not that. They matched it. It's very fun to see this team, going blow for blow with the top of the AL Central in a Central that is way more interesting, like you said, Jordan, that nobody saw coming, and it's just awesome to see good baseball coming out of AL Central, not just Kansas City.
Yep, 100%. It's exciting stuff, and more exciting stuff. I want to talk to everybody about PXG. Guys, I picked up golf a few summers ago and kind of have slowly fallen in love with it since COVID started and a little bit after that. As I've gotten a little bit better, not by much, trust me, I've kind of also discovered how different equipment can impact my game. I heard the old adage of no one makes golf clubs like PXG, period. Wanted to find out for myself and see how much truth there was to it. So I got an opportunity to swing the oh-so-sweet PXG Black Ops driver, total game changer, married distance and forgiveness perfectly. Getting fitted with Alex was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had personally. Her expertise and insight for like the different club shafts and the weights and everything, state of the art. Learned more about drivers than I ever thought existed. I had no clue there were so many components to it. Having the chance to assess your game from the tee and to a tee was super rewarding. Receiving the real-time feedback in such a friendly environment was something that I won't forget anytime soon. So PXG, needless to say, they made me a believer. They're going to do the same for every golfer in Kansas City. Visit pxg.com/oneworldaway to schedule your fitting at PXG Kansas City at 7517 West 119th Street in Overland Park. Get fitted for any club and you'll get a dozen balls for free. That's pxg.com/oneworldaway to schedule your fitting. Again, pxg.com/oneworldaway. Limit 1 dozen golf balls per person. Promotion ends June 30th. Other terms and conditions may apply. See the store for details. We'll be right back.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest-ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
Let's talk some player spotlights here. One World Away, Jordan Foote, Joel Penfield, Josh Keiser, and I want to start. Let's go with Josh. That's the order on the dock, and this guy we've kind of checked in on at every 3 or 4 weeks throughout the year. First time wasn't doing too well. Next time is doing a little bit better, and now he is back to the guy that we saw for most of last season.
Yeah, Freddy Fermin had a great week. Caught 3 games. He had a pinch run in yesterday's game on Monday. But went 5 for 13, 3 doubles and 4 ribbies, 4 big, timely ribbies at that as well. But like you said, he's exactly what you want and more from a backup catcher. He's really good behind the plate, good at calling games. Has one of the lower caught ERAs in the majors. They were talking about that on the broadcast over the weekend. So he's allowing Salvi to keep his legs fresh. Let him play first base. Let him play DH. Give him those rotation. And not just that, he's actually giving them production at the plate. I can't, explain how awesome that is to see, how valuable that is to this roster, especially when a lot of the roster is going through slumps here and there. It seems like Freddy Fermin is slump-proof for the most part. He's always ready to come up and contribute whenever he gets the call for that day. So hats off to Freddy Freeman. I did it again. Freddie Fermin.
Hey, if the Royals have Freddy Freeman, they are going to be talking playoffs. Like we're going to have to do a
really good by the plate. Yeah. That's going to be a fun trade deadline acquisition, I'm sure. But yeah, Freddy Fermin. Shout out to Freddy Fermin. Steady Freddy, I think is what we should dream him from now on. He's very consistent. So shout out. But yeah, that's who I came up with.
He's been so good.
There are currently, let me get the exact number. There are 34 catchers this year that have logged at least 90 plate appearances. And Freddy Fermin ranks 12th among all catchers in weighted runs created plus of 118.
And that's after coming out of the gate cold as fuck.
Yes. Yeah. And he's been unreal for the last couple of weeks. And I mean, you have the argument of, do the Royals have the best catcher tandem in the league? Like with the way Salvi has continued to hit, and they're both been very solid defensively too. So you kind of get the whole package out of it. And I talked about when we were talking about Freddie, when he was in a cold spell at the beginning of the season, I'm like, he's good enough defensively that I don't really care what he does offensively. Like he's not playing all the time. But it's becoming a situation. And I heard listen to another national baseball podcast recently. They said it's kind of almost like Danny Jansen and Alejandro Kirk in Toronto, where both guys are so good at hitting. Like they're both hitting so well. It's like we got to find a way to get them in the lineup more often.
Yep.
And that's where maybe, and it's not like I'm saying this is a good thing, but if Vinny is out for an extended period or an IL stint, there's an opportunity to put Salvi and Freddie in the lineup. And those are two dudes that are, are going to be able to hold their weight, hold their own, in the lineup. So Freddie does exactly what you need him to do. He's going to hit you 6th or 7th. He's going to drive line drives everywhere. He's going to put the ball in play. He's not going to strike out a ton. And he's going to be really solid defensively behind the dish. So he does everything the Royals need.
I remember it was either early August, late August, early September. It must have been sometime early August because there was still like a considerable amount of time left in the year where Salvador Perez was like getting banged up and he was scuffling at the plate and he wasn't playing too well. Freddy Fermin was doing great. And I was like, do you entertain just giving Freddy Fermin more time and being like, Salvi, just chill out, relax, just because he's playing so well? And Salvi was obviously not 100%. Like, that's how good Freddy Fermin was playing. He was being a better player at certain points in the year than Salvador Perez. Granted, this season, totally different story with Perez. He's been absolutely fantastic. Father Time, he said GTFO to him this year. But for me, to have that ability as a backup catcher, and I'm not insinuating, hinting, or anything that the Royals should consider, testing the market for him and say, hey, you need a guy like that. I think you just keep him and ride this wave with Freddy Fermin.
Absolutely.
Probably not going to net anything crazy anyway because he doesn't have like that long-term starting sample or whatever, but he's been awesome. The value is immense as a backup catcher. And if Salvador Perez, who has been known to get injured and is a little bit older now, does miss some time for anything, God forbid, the Royals would be pretty confident, I think, that he'd get the job done.
I do wonder, back in 2020, the Padres and Mariners had that 7-player deal. Looks like it was Austin Nola was part of that. And then they said two relievers, and Dan Altavilla was in one of those, but they traded for Taylor Trammell, Ty France, Luis Torrens, and Andres Munoz. That is an interesting... What's that?
It was like an all-time steal of a trade. Like,
it was. Yes. But if that's the player market and someone comes knocking, sniffing around Freddy Fermin, I think you got to listen to him.
You have
to that, and I hope they don't. But I think you got to listen to it, especially if they come knocking with a deal like that. So I don't want it to happen, but I do think the catcher depth in this organization is better than you would anticipate.
We'll talk about that later too. Again,
yeah, we'll hit that. I've been hitting that for a long time.
Pause. Hey, yo. Joel, get us out of here.
So let's talk about a guy that I didn't think we were ever going to talk about on this podcast, but let's talk about Garrett Hampson, boys. So
okay. If we have to.
His roster spot has been very maligned, criticized, and shit on by basically everyone since he got signed. And for the most part, I understand. Like, it is also like a $3 million signing. He wasn't going to get a ton of playing time anyways. It was a bench roll deal. Still frustrating, especially the first part of the year. Wasn't doing anything of note at all. But if we are to be fair arbiters of this franchise,
we have to be,
and provide cogent analysis, we have to step back and give the guy credit where he deserves. In the month of May, and this is not including tonight, 35 plate appearances, slashing 429, 515, 536 for a 201 weighted runs created plus, 17% strikeout rate, 14% walk rate. And we have been begging for the entirety of the season for the bottom of the lineup to do anything. And it's no coincidence that the Royals offense has been really good for about a 10-game stretch because the bottom of the lineup has been doing stuff, and Garrett Hampson has been one of those guys. Situationally, is putting the ball in play, utilizing his speed, just even if it's like a push bunt. It's like, all right, I'm going to put the ball in play and try and get to first, keep the line moving. He's not going to drive the ball for a bunch of power. He's it's a 107 ISO, so that's not his game. But he continues to put the ball in play, continues to get on base, and moves it to the top of the lineup for Michael Garcia, Bobby Witt Jr., and Salvi. So I don't think this is long-term sustainable. The BABIP is 545. It's crazy. But I'm just going to give the guy credit where it deserves for the stuff on the hitting side. Let's move to the flip side, though, because this is where it's a problem. He plays a lot of positions. He's not necessarily good at any of them. A couple disastrous plays in the outfield today. Not that great in center field line. It's like -1 DRS, whatever.
Last I knew, his metrics were pretty good defensively.
I know.
Percentile outs above average, but I don't know A, where that position is, and then B, everything else is bad. So
correct. Yeah. So tonight, left field, he just plain misread a ball that would have gotten them out of the inning. Now he caught the next one and ended up not being a big deal, but that's kind of stuff that does matter. We saw it was a game against might have been the Brewers, I believe it was. No, it was the A's, where he just completely misread a ball in center field on a line drive hit right at him, and it gets the wall, 2-run score. Like, if you are, and we don't even have to talk about the two Blands. For as speedy as he is, I mean, the IQ on the base paths is just bad. It's flat out bad. He's got, for a guy that, when you are at best, the 23rd or 24th guy on the roster, you can't make mistakes like that. Now, the fact that he's hitting a little bit, like, it kind of makes up for it a little bit. If he was still hitting $120, he wouldn't be
unplayable.
It would be entirely unplayable. But RBI single again tonight, the weighted runs created plus is 118 on the season, which would be a career high for him. Which is just wild.
That's the dumbest thing of all time.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So, like, I don't know what to do with Garrett Hampson overall, because, like, he's hitting, and I'm like, okay, if he's in the lineup, like, at least I know if he's going to hit an 8 or 9 hole, like, he probably is going to put together a decent at bat and get on base, but everything else is so infuriating that I don't know.
Right on time. He just about ran into Kyle Isbell in a can of corn instead of right on time. He just about.
It almost happened again. Okay, well,
he's just vibing out. He's just
just vibe.
So, to conclude, he's hitting the ball. Whatever else he's doing, I have no idea. But we'll see how long it lasts. I have no idea.
Joel, did you see what his OPS is?
Let me look at the exact number.
No, don't look, because it's a guessing game.
I want to say it's.
Give me a hint.
I want to say.
No, I'm going to say 804.
804, right in the middle, 750. Going in.
That plays
crazy.
Like,
that's crazy. It does, like, especially if you're not asking him to play every day. Now he's playing more,
right,
because of the Massey injury. Isbell was out for a couple days because he got smoked in the face. Like, and I think Dyron Blanco has kind of come back to earth a little bit, kind of, he's not an everyday guy. Hampson is probably more of that than Dyron is. And also, who else is going to come out and play the outfield? But like Drew Waters. But we've said our piece about Drew Waters before.
Drew Waters is the friends we made along the way at this point. So's Nick Prado. We're talking about Logan Porter coming up before Nick Prado. That kind of shows where that's.
Yeah.
So let's take the 750 OPS. Let's frame it. Now guess what Freddy Fermin's OPS is.
He's not slugging a ton. I'd say it's probably like
694.
759. You guys are right there in the middle again. That's wow. But that's where we are. We were just praising about Freddy Fermin coming in, like, not having consistent playing time and still producing. Garrett Hampson is right there with them. It's so, I don't know what's happening. I don't know.
Wild. It's wild. I mean, you have to get credit. Like, he's hitting, like, batting average is what it is. He's hitting 313.
Yeah.
Like,
his BABIP is pretty high.
Oh, the BABIP is wild, and that's why I don't think it's going to last.
Or something like that.
Let me get because during May it's
5 whatever. Yeah. Like 535 whatever.
Yeah, it's 5
there. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's something crazy. The BABIP right now is 463
on the year.
Coming into tonight, it's 463
on the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
All of a sudden.
We need to circle back to Garrett Hampson in a few weeks, I think. On June 28th, we need to have another conversation about
I think that's
go ahead and put it on the schedule. I'm in.
Yeah, let's put a pin in that.
Put a pin in that.
Yeah, we'll circle back all the corporate mumbo jumbo. I am going to talk about Alec Marsh, who's done a really, really good job this season. Even missed some time, then just kind of picked back up where he left off before he missed some time with an injury that, like, for me, it would phase me a little bit. I'd take a little bit to get back in the groove. For him, took liner off. It was like his arm or shoulder or something, right? Or elbow.
It's like right there.
Yeah. Scary stuff. I'm going to get the bat out of the way first with him from what I gathered. The sinker not working. Opponents are hitting 419 against it. The changeup is due for some regression. The expected stuff is way, way, way worse than the actual stuff. I'm talking like 150 points batting average, like 200 points slugging. The run value is better, but the location is not. He's kind of leaving it right down Broadway this season. But the good with him, the four-seam fastball, he has moved it from right down Broadway last year to up and out against right-handed hitters. And I think we had a conversation about this. I believe it was about him the other day. The slider, 18%, he has upped that. He's kind of shelved that sweeper and moved the slider. Joel mentioned that point, added 105 RPMs of spin to it, less horizontal movement, so it's breaking vertically better. That's working out for him. And the curveball added 2 miles per hour and 112 RPMs of spin, 4 inches less in vertical movement, moved it down and away to righties, down and into lefties. Like, the tinkering he has made, and like, we're 50 innings in with him. Like, it's no longer, oh, he's only thrown a couple starts. Like, he's had, 6, 7, 8, 9 starts now this season. You look at the Savant page, 50th percentile or worse, sometimes 40th or worse, in a shit ton of stuff. You're like, okay, sometimes roughly middle of the pack, sometimes not good, but he started in the zone 5% more this season than he was last year. The first pitch strike rate is very similar. The chase rate is very similar. So you get a guy that's attacking the zone more. He's placing the pitches he uses the most better, which I think that's why he's offsetting the bad sinker and the changeup that hasn't worked, because the top three have all had tangible changes. He shelved that sweeper almost entirely. I'd almost argue that a couple of them might just be Savant, like rounding errors or something. It says he's thrown it 15 times. Could be true. Still not really using it much. He's due for regression. So in the month of May, 403 FIP, but the strikeouts were up. The walks were up a little bit. The home run ball got him a bit. That's probably more indicative of who Alec Marsh is, but that is a perfectly fine number 5 starter, if not a really good number 5 starter. So a guy that I honestly wasn't high on coming into the season, he gave me a little bit of John Heasley vibes, and that he could be a bulldog and get you some innings and strike some guys out, but maybe the long ball would get him. Maybe he wouldn't hold up long term, would be a really volatile piece. He's been anything but that this year. So could have fit for a toast game, could have fit for a lot of segments. But guys, I think that the Royals have a pretty solid little piece here.
And I think he's been really impressive this year overall. And even so, the expected ERA, or so his current ERA is 3.24. The expected is 4.25. FIP 3.61.
Again, totally cool.
If that's what you're getting, if you're going to get a 4.2 from Alec Marsh, you're feeling really good.
The Royals would have killed with that, with like Brady Singer as a number 2 coming into the year. Like, okay, that's fine.
Right.
Let's roll.
Yeah. And like there still is, I think, a lot to like. And even if he regresses a little, like there are qualities that I really like in the way he pitches. There's a certain amount of FU he has where it's like, okay, you know what? Here's 96. Go get it. And then his changeup has gotten more effective. He's using the fastball, like talked about, where he's using the fastball more, which I think is what is making his changeup more effective, because he's got that like north-south tunnel to it now. Mm-hmm. And the sequencing is really good. And Andy Rogers wrote about it last year. He was tinkering with stuff during the season. Like, they realized when they were sending him out there every 5th day, it was like, okay, season is what it is. Go work on stuff. Go figure out your arsenal. Find your mix, find your sequences, so that you're ready for next year, so that you can learn how to do this at the big league level. And it seems like that, and as awful as last season was, is paying off for him now because of the way that he's pitching. And I think he is going to continue to be a very solid piece. He's already almost worth 1 win for this team in 50 innings flat. And if you had told me coming into the year that Alec Marsh would flirt with 1 win of wins above replacement, I probably would have taken it, because that's what you're going to get out of your 5th starter. So, and he's projected for a seamer, has a 1.4 over the course of the full season. And that's probably that's usually like a safer estimate. Yeah. I bet if he can get close to 2, you get 2 wins out of your 5th starter. There probably aren't many teams that are getting that. So it just continues to speak to what Brian Sweeney, Zach Bove, and Alec Marsh are doing together to get this figured out and keep this rotation moving.
I think you could hang your hat on what Cole Riggins has become. I think you can hang your hat on what Brady Singer has done, but both of those guys probably came in with a little bit more tools to work with, a little bit more than Alec Marsh has been able to. Marsh has had some good stuff in the minors, but they're in the minor leagues. He was also pretty hittable in the minor leagues, especially susceptible to the home run, which he still is, but we're in the major league level where he's still producing at a high level. So if we're talking about the hat-hanging moments of this pitching coaching staff, that he might be the guy, at least in 2024. We'll see what happens with the Chris Bubich situation what they could potentially turn into, Jonathan Bolin and Daniel Lynch, some of the other guys that are at the upper levels of the minor leagues. But right now, Alec Marsh might be the guy that you could really point to and be like, things are different, and Alec Marsh is the reason why. He's the biggest evidence of what we can hang our hats on moving forward. So all credit goes to him. We also need to throw in Mitch Stetter in that group as well. He was on the Royals Weekly podcast last year and pointed Stetter out specifically as being pretty huge to what he's become. So shout out to the Royals coaching staff, and also shout out to Alec Marsh, who is, I looked at the numbers, legitimately, as far as like listed number 5 starters, he is the best one. And as far as like the worst pitcher in one's rotation that's getting consistent, Alec Marsh is blowing guys out of the water. So if that's who the number 5 is, man, we're looking really, really, really good.
Yep. He will pitch again on June 1st against the Padres. The Royals will close out their Minnesota series on Thursday, then a 3-game against San Diego, then going to Cleveland to face the Guardians. Fellas, it's that time of the week. I lost my bet. I will be upfront about that. I said MJ Melendez would hit over 250. He didn't even come close. He hit 167. Josh noted for me that he did get his 5th hit on the road of the season on Monday. Again, if I didn't say that loud enough into my microphone, on the season. We need to have a MJ Melendez talk next week. And I think I said that last week, but actually next week, I won't be here next week. The week after, by the end of June, damn it, we will have an MJ Melendez conversation if the Royals don't already have one for us. But I am betting this week for Salvador Perez to have over 1.5 hits against the Twins on Wednesday, as a lot of you are probably listening to this podcast. Career 293 hitter against Minnesota, 150 batting average with a 13 WRC plus in his last 5 games entering Tuesday. So I think he is due to bounce back a little bit. And he's facing Bailey Ober, who 5 for 14, 357 batting average against him. 1 home run, 6 ribbies, but 5 strikeouts. So he's going to go down swinging either way. I'm going to vibe with Salvador Perez having over 1.5 hits, the 2-hit game against Minnesota, and getting me up to 4-5 on the year.
Oh, he loves hitting at target field too, right?
Yeah.
I think that's I've seen that. I was trying to find his stat or splits there, but I'll pass on that. I had a good bet with the Twins money line with Joe Ryan at the helm for the Minnesota Twins. He absolutely dominates the Royals, like we talked about earlier, either 7-0 or 8-0, and had his way with them again this time around. So I'm 3-4 on the season, which I will happily take considering where I was 2 weeks ago. And this one is probably already looking good. And I'm going to say I already locked it in, and I'm going to get credit for it. I had Vinny Pasquantino under 4.5 hits over the next week.
Invalidated.
I already got the money in. The slip's in my pocket,
fair enough.
so it's mine.
Fair enough.
It's mine. Weirdly, his slumps this year have usually his roller coaster ride has gone from like 12 games down here, 12 games up here, 12 games down. It's a weird number around 11 to 12 games. Right now we're about 5-ish games to go in his normal trend, and he's already has 3 to 4 hits. So I think he's going to get less because in those skids he usually hits maybe 4 or 5 times. So I'm going to say he's under 4.5 hits over the next week, and hopefully he gets healthy and my vet doesn't void just out of principle.
So my pick, last week I had Seth Lugo over 7.5 strikeouts against the Rays. He only had 3, but still went 7 innings, 1 run ball. So it was still a good start. This is purely for vibes. I have no other reason to pick this other than I have Bobby Witt Jr. hitting a home run on Friday against the Padres. It's big slick KC softball night. A whole bunch of people in the house. Feels like a moment where Bobby's going to go Yabo off of Dylan Cease. And if you do want another bet, again, this is not gambling advice, but if you think the Royals are going to get off the schneid a little bit, take their money line tomorrow. They own Bailey Ober. Have you seen his career stats against the Royals?
Yeah.
So 8 starts. Bailey Ober has 8 starts against the Royals in his career. 7.24 ERA in 32 and a third inning. 49 hits in those 32 and a third.
And that's when the Royals weren't very good. A lot of that.
7 home runs in 32 and a third. So, yeah.
Wow. That seems like a pretty safe bet. Betting on AAA Omaha to win games is a pretty safe bet these days. 33-16 on the year entering Tuesday. Highest run differential in the International League. Transactions for them, Chris Bubich joins them. Nick Lofton joins the big league team. We've already talked about that, but I did want to briefly touch on Nick Lofton before the promotion, hitting 309 with a 521 slugging percentage, 142 WRC plus in 24 games, 12% walk rate, 14% strikeout rate. Last 15 games before he got called up, 673 slugging percentage, 1.120 OPS, 183 WRC plus, still walking 15% of the time was great. 7 of his 8 doubles in the minor leagues came in that stretch for the year, all 4 of his home runs. So Joel mentioned earlier, and I do agree with this, the game power for him just not viable compared to a Michael Massey, but I had zero clue he was playing this well. And not even just getting on base, not even being disciplined, hitting the cover off the freaking ball. Apparently Nick Lofton was balling and deserved the promotion. It was a natural thing with Massey obviously being hurt, but I'm a little bit more intrigued than I was before I found out that he was playing good ball.
I think his platoon situation with Adam Frazier makes a little bit more sense roster-wise, so I think that certainly helps. I want to talk about another lefty in Omaha, and they're coming off another solid week, John Rave. We've talked to him about a little bit, not really eligible for prospect status. I think he's 26 years old, but he is doing really well, plays all 3 positions in the outfield pretty well. He hasn't committed an error all season in 304 innings, so that's healthy. But last week he went 6 for 20 with 2 jacks, 4 walks, and 3 strikeouts. On the year is a 793 OPS. K-rate, walk rate are both good. Not really chasing that much. He is able to limit his swinging strikes, so that's very nice. His extra velocities are below average, kind of similar to a Nick Lofton. They should still play with his speed. He's a little bit speed, not a lot, but his line drive rates and his slappy hit tendencies should play at the next level. But we'll have to see if that spot opens up. But I did want to shout out John Rave for his performance last week.
Another guy that's a little bit older, probably not a non-prospect at this point, 27-year-old CJ Alexander. Dude's just hitting the crap out of the ball in Omaha this year. Slash 324, 324, 386, 576 slash 144 weighted runs created plus. Only striking out 23%, which considering there's a couple other guys that are more big league-ish that are striking out way more, you feel pretty good there. He has a line drive rate that's like 39%, 38%, and doesn't hit the ball on the ground at all. It's 24%. So he knows what he is. He knows how to get to his power. It's at the pull side, and I'm going to hit the living crap out of it. I'm not saying that I'm not going to clamor for CJ Alexander to get a shot in the majors, but at this point, I don't think it would hurt. I think it can only help if he finds a way. If it doesn't work, he's 27 in AAA for a reason, and is just a career minor leaguer. But, if the opportunity presents itself, he might be a dude that I'd call.
I mean, his chase rate is a 35% going into the series last week, so not great, but his exit velocity is kind of tell the tale there. So that's potentially a profile you do want to roll the dice on, see what you got.
I mean, swing hard in case you hit it.
That's right. That's right.
AA Northwest Arkansas, 4th in the Texas League North. Caden Wallace on the 7-day IL doesn't appear to be anything too crazy. Jack Alexander activated, and Sturvian Newton went on a rehab assignment to ACL. I'm going to talk about Noah Murdoch a little bit. He hasn't been discussed really by anyone that I've seen in a while. The prospect kind of allure with him has faded. Last season, he wasn't good. Had an ERA of almost 6. This season, pitching a lot better. The caveat to that, the strikeout and walk profiles are almost identical to what they were a year ago. 10 plus Ks per 9, and 6 plus walks per 9 for the second year in a row. But in his last 8 games, 13 innings pitched, 7 hits, and 0.68 ERA, 14 strikeouts, and 6 walks. So I don't think he's back on the radar by any means, but is pitching better and a guy to potentially keep an eye on if he does it, let's say, for another month or something like that. Joel, what do you got?
I got Eric Sarantola, a guy that I don't know how to feel about, like, obviously the strikeout stuff is there. Like, there's some electricity to what he's throwing, 51 strikeouts and 35 in the third. But he's walked 33. He's always been a walk issue guy. He pitched 3 innings a couple days, or yesterday, actually, against Tulsa. And 6 walks to 4 strikeouts in 3 innings. And I'm looking at every outing. He has 1 outing this year where he didn't walk somebody. And only 1 other outing where he walked 1. Other than that, it's 6, 3, 3, 4, 4, 1, 4, 5, 0, 3. You can throw you had all the electric stuff you want. If you're nowhere close and you're walking that many dudes in Double-A, like, I just don't know what to make of it. I don't know. It's interesting because I know he's talked about a lot as a guy that could get a bump just because the stuff is so electric. The walks are really, really concerning.
Yeah.
Someone else that's kind of tough to make heads or tails of right now. One of the Royals' best pitching prospects coming into the year was Mason Barnett. Had another bad start this last week. 4 innings pitched, 8 earned runs, 11 hits, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. He had a couple really good starts to begin, 3 really good starts, and then since then, he's got an 8.54 ERA over 26 innings. So you don't like to see that, but his K rate is 27%. He's walking 8% of the time, which is not that big a deal. His BABIP is 462. Don't want to see that, but he does have a 3.34 FIP. So I mean, there is something that's still there. It's just kind of weird. Getting hit hard issues similar to Alec Marsh, but still plenty to wish upon on Mason Barnett, so hopefully you get things turned around there in Double-A.
Shane Panzini in High A Quad Cities is a classic lesson in sample size manipulation. I found out today his BABIP is down, the ground ball rate's back up. It's kind of what we were accustomed to seeing from him. Season numbers 6.34 ERA, 31 strikeouts, 14 walks, and 32.2 innings. You take out the opener, the beginning start for him, and the most recent appearance, both not good. 3.58 ERA, 24 strikeouts to 11 walks. So bulk of the strikeouts still there. ERA much better. That obviously is not how this works. You can't do that in real life. That's not his stat line in real life. But interesting. Again, a player that kind of like Murdoch faded from radars. I don't think people are really keeping too many tabs on him. Just wanted to bring light to it. At a certain point, we're already facing this at the end of May, beginning of June. You like keep a tally of who's been talked about, who hasn't. You're like, well, there might be an angle with this guy, there might not. But I'm just going to give you some numbers and tell you how this guy's doing. We go from there. So, Josh, you have an interesting one, or actually 2 of them, I guess, for Quad Cities, and everybody could guess one of them.
You're never going to guess one of them. Never, ever, ever. Carter Jensen, week 6, week 7, I don't care where we are. He needs to be in Double-A right now. Had another solid week, 5 of 18 with a home run, 3 doubles. Didn't walk as much, only had 1 walk to 6 strikeouts. So on the year, he's slashing 295, 434, 487. Get that kid to Double-A so we can really start to get worked up about his fast tracking to the major leagues. Hopefully we see him in Kansas City soon. We're not going to get crazy here, but I do love me some Carter Jensen. Somebody else I really liked going into the year, a stat filler last year after being drafted, was Trevor Werner. Had a solid week last week, a 5 out of 20, so not great there, but he did have 2 jacks and 2 doubles, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, 1 stolen base. Had a very solid struggle so far this year. I don't know if that's the right word, solid struggle. He has not gotten off to a great start, so hopefully this kind of gets him going a little bit, and we see Trevor Werner filling up stat sheets moving forward.
A guy that I think should be heading south to Springdale, Arkansas with Carter Jensen should be Ben Cooter. Another great start this week, 5 shutty, 5 strikeouts to 2 walks. On the season, 46 strikeouts to 14 walks. So he's really, the command is starting to get there. The confidence is there. 42 2/3 innings, 2.53 ERA on the season. I think right now he's just too good for high A. I want to see him move up a level. And I think he and Carter Jensen will probably be in the same car heading down to Springdale.
I'm in.
Big agree. Columbia, I'm just going to call it here, the Eric Pena hype train, if there is one anymore.
Buddy, that was gone 2 years ago.
Well, no, There were probably people, and I'm not saying I've seen these people, I'm not trying to make something up, but I bet there was at least one person out there before the year that was like, just give him one more chance. And it just hasn't. If they,
sometimes
that person's probably in shambles. Yeah, he's striking out 41% of the time. The month of May, striking out 45% of the time, 46 WRC plus. His BABIP's 342, and he's hitting 201. So, like, it's not going to get much better than this, and it just hasn't worked. I believe he's like 21 now, so he's not even, he's only 19. He still has time. It's like Joel said a couple years ago. I was just kind of, again, scrolling through the numbers and was like, okay, let's see what he's up to. And it's 87 WRC plus, which is an improvement, but albeit not a great one. Josh, what you got?
I don't want to put him in the same category, but it's kind of like the Sully Matias effect, where every time I see him hit a home run, I get a little bit more of a flash in my head. It's like, okay, Eric Pena, here we go. And then it just doesn't. But a guy that we don't know that much, just drafted last year out of Kentucky, is Logan Martin. Drafted out of college, University of Kentucky, in the 12th round, I believe, but had 2 appearances this last week, 10 innings pitched, 2 earned, 6 hits, 2 walks, and 8 strikeouts. Slow start, but really, really solid over this last month or so. He's kind of working between starters and a multi-inning reliever. So I'm curious about what he's kind of going through right now. He is still a little bit old for Columbia, so I'd like to see him kind of bumped up and see what he's got. But a name to kind of keep an eye on is Logan Martin there in Columbia, see what he can do to kind of capitalize on his recent performances.
One of my favorite prospects in the system, honestly, is who I'm going to talk about here, is Derlin Figueroa. I'm just so fascinated by him. I think he is ridiculously talented. A dude that, and they got him for Ryan Yarbrough. Like, this is kind of a last-minute throwaway deadline deal. This week, /458, 519, 792, 2 doubles, 2 homers, 6 runs scored for the Fireflies. There's like, the swing is a little funky, but his pitch recognition, his ability to adjust is so impressive. And that's where I kind of separate, like, Blake Mitchell versus Derlin Figueroa right now. Like, Blake Mitchell, the home run he hit yesterday was stupid. Like, when he hits to the raw power, it's crazy. The pitch ID is a problem right now, but that can be fixed. Like, I think he'll be okay. His ability to adjust is very advanced, and I would not be shocked if they send him to Quad Cities mid-season. Like, I think he is that advanced as a hitter to where I think he'd be able to survive there at the back end of a season. And he's only he'll be 21 later this year, but still a dude that I like a lot. I don't know exactly what position he's going to play, but if the bat plays, they'll find a spot for him.
Yeah. No, I'm with that. He just keeps producing, keeps finding a way, and a guy who's finding a way, transition game somewhat on point. Michael Wacha. Yeah. Michael Wacha is my toast game segment. Raising a proverbial glass, a hypothetical glass, because I don't have alcohol near me, of 360 vodka, Holladay Distillery, then Holladay Bottled and Bond Bourbon, 5 Farms Irish Cream, whatever you have. Michael Wacha on the year, 4.31 ERA. He's been worth 1.1 wins. He's averaging over 5 innings per start. All that's been great. Tied 30th among all starting pitchers in wins above replacement on Fangraphs. Last 4 starts, 2.52 ERA. 23 strikeouts, a whip under 1. He's been pitching well, and he had a couple starts, I believe, to end April and begin May, where people thought he was coming back down to earth a little bit. Bad Wacha was showing up. He's been good ever since then, pitching well, leading well, a valuable part of what the Royals have done to this rotation, rebuilding it with Seth Lugo, and everyone talks about, obviously, and well-deserved, the Cy Young candidate. He's been the pitch mix that he has to changes he's made, but sneakily, Michael Wacha, 32-year-old guy coming in off a couple of, different years, but solid nonetheless, and he's kept that up. So cheers to him for playing some good ball.
Mm-hmm.
Joel?
I'm going to take a low-hanging fruit on my toast game. Bobby Wood Jr., AL Player of the Week, was just awesome. Leads all of Major League Baseball in F4 right now. Is still second in MVP odds to Juan Soto, and it's getting closer. It's awesome. I just love having a superstar on my team. Like, even those 2014-15 teams, like, they had really good players. I don't think they really ever had a star.
Don't talk about Lorenzo Cain like that.
Hey, I love Lorenzo.
I'm Alex Gordon, buddy.
Listen, man, but those dudes aren't this level. Like, and that's not a shot.
That's true.
That's just how player Bobby Wood Jr. is. And this team is going to go as he goes. And if he's going to stay hot, then we're in for a real fun summer. And I just love watching the guy play baseball.
Yeah. Cheers to that as well. I'm going to shout out Tucker D. Franklin in his reputational toast of good health. And I say that because, knock on wood, this team has largely and relatively been healthy all year. I think there's all but, 2 or 3 games where the starting rotation, the opening day 5, has started all of them but 2. So if that's the case, that is exceptional considering what is happening. We come out of that Rays series, seeing the IL stints that rotation is seen already is crazy town. You see guys going on the IL, sore forearms, sore elbows, shoulder injuries. It's just happening so often this year, and so far, knock on wood, like I said, the Royals have been relatively healthy. Knock on wood for Vinny Pasquantino. Just hopefully that's a thing. Hopefully we'll see Michael Massey here soon. But yeah, relatively speaking, the Royals have been very healthy. So here's toast to good health. Shout out Tucker Franklin.
Toast to good health. Toast to good health for everyone listening. Toast to good health for you guys. Thank you to anyone who tuned in, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, however you're getting the podcast. We'll be back next week. I guess I won't. I'm going on a golf trip with my buddies. I'm extremely excited for that. Was going to pod from the road. Not sure that's actually going to happen. I might be heavily inebriated at that point. So I will send my best next week, and I know that Josh and Joel will put a masterclass of a podcast together. So until then, we'll talk to you next time, and thanks a lot.